Hi everyone. Wanted to take a few minutes and walk you through some of the high points that I really would like for you to carry with you as you put the final touches on your narrative speech in regard to your introductions and your conclusions. These are two of the most important pieces of your speech, and they are two of the most neglected pieces of the speech that I've seen across my entire career. I will have students who will spend hours getting the topic right, and they'll spend hours finding information if that's what they have to do. They'll put together a visual aid, and if they're going to spend time on one on more than the other, they'll spend some time on the introduction, and then they'll just try to chunk something on the end. So I just want to take a few minutes to walk you through introductions and conclusions today. Okay, so I'm gonna walk you through this PowerPoint. I've also posted a speech template. I'm gonna pull that up in the midst of me doing this here. And I've also left it in the module for this week so that you can use it if you would like as you put the final touches on it, okay? So let's go ahead and just dive in really quickly. So, all right. First things first, your speech does have to have an introduction, okay? You really do have to have something on the front end. Now, this is not to say that you have to have something on the front end that wastes your audience time or anything like that. That's not actually at all the point. You simply do an introduction to give your audience a first impression, okay? To introduce you, the purpose, or the topic, okay? And there are some very specific, simple ways that you can do that. Sorry, I had a little brain fart. My brain just stopped right there. It was like, okay. Anyways, I'm back. Okay, so here's what I want to do. I'm going to, my taskbar has disappeared. Here it is. I want to pull this up for you first. So I have to find it again. Hang on, I'm going to pause and find this real quick. Okay, I'm back, and your screen just suddenly shifted to this white document that I have open here. I thought I had it open and I didn't, so I had to go find it. I've posted this in the step 1 in the week 3 module, so you can actually download this Word document and you can use it to put your speech together. This mirrors what is in your textbook, okay? Now your textbook actually has a lot of other details that walks you through things to have in your introduction, just like what I have in the speech assignment, okay? So there's more stuff you can do, but this is the bare bones structure of a speech, okay? And you'll always have this. So just very quickly, the introduction has these pieces, okay? Now, there's going to be other things that go in each little piece of this, but you're going to have an attention getter, you're going to have a thesis, and then you're going to have a preview of main points, okay? So I'm going to walk you through the attention getter stuff. The thesis is simply, here's what I'm talking about. And folks, the beauty of doing a public speech is you're organizing and you're writing for the ear, not the eye, okay? And so there are different things you can do. You can actually, after your attention getter, your thesis can be, so I'm going to talk about something that impacted who I am. It can be very general. These are where your purpose statements can go, right? And then the preview of the main points is simply you saying what your main points are going to be. So every single one of your speeches is going to have 2 or 3 main points. Not 1, not 4, not 5, 2 or 3. Anything can be condensed into 2 or 3 big ideas, okay? So I even have it broken down on, let me switch here and shrink this down, if it'll let me. Come on, let me shrink it. There we go. I'll move this over here for you. There we go. So take a look here. There we go. What did you learn in public speaking this week? I watched my professor struggle with a document. That's what it was. Okay, here we go. So in the assignment sheet, I've given you a breakdown of what to have in your speech. Okay, so you're going to have an introduction. I give you a time estimate here, and then you've got the attention getter, the relating to the audience, the building to your name, the combined thesis and preview, okay? So the thesis is, today I'm going to talk to you about this. And then the preview is you saying, so first I'm going to tell you the story about the time that I stepped on a coiled up rattlesnake. That actually happened to me when I was a kid. I stepped right in the middle of a rattlesnake that was coiled up and shaking its rattle and somehow did not get bitten. It was a horrifying experience, and to this day I am scared to death of snakes. So first in the preview you just say something like, first I'm going to tell you the story. Secondly, I'm going to talk to you about how it impacted me. That's what you do in a preview statement, okay? And then your main points are the stuff of the speech, okay? So when I come back here to the speech template, what I'm talking about is this. I have the attention getter, the thesis, the preview of main points, and then we're going to talk about transitions a little bit later. Try to transition right now. Right now, the point of this first speech is to do a speech and to have some semblance of organization. We're going to talk more about transitions. We're going to talk more about expanding this out as we go, okay? But right now, have the attention getter, have the thesis, have the preview, have main points, okay? Now, you don't have to have 3 main points. The reason why I have this right here and this right here in parentheses is because you don't always have to have a 3rd main point. For an audience member, it's easy for them to follow a 2 or 3 point speech. If I say to you, I'm going to talk about 2 things, 1, 2, you're going to follow. If I say I'm going to talk about 3 things, 1, 2, 3, you're going to follow. When I start to get to 4 and 5, it's like, I have to struggle to remember it, okay? So keep it to 2 or 3 main points. And I've given you that structure in the assignment sheet for your first speech, okay? So coming back now to the PowerPoint presentation here, the purpose of the introduction is to set things up, okay? And the introduction is going to have the attention getter, okay? Some sort of relation to the audience, the thesis statement, and the preview. This is what I've been showing you, okay? So for your attention getters, now we're going to be spending more time talking about attention. It's a really big piece of public speaking. You have to not just get the attention of your audience, you have to keep the attention of your audience. And getting it and keeping it are 2 different things, okay? So we're going to dive more into that later. For now, your attention getter has to be 3 things, okay? It has to be relevant, effective, and appropriate. And it has to be all 3, okay? If you've got 2 of the 3, you're not really having a good attention getter. It has to be a relevant attention getter, effective, and appropriate. You can do things to effectively and appropriately get your audience's attention, but it could be completely irrelevant from what you're doing. You can have something that's relevant and effective, but completely inappropriate. I had a young man take off his shirt one time in my public speaking classroom and flex, and to his credit, he was all cut up. You know, he worked out a lot. But it was inappropriate to take your shirt off in the classroom, okay? It was a speech on exercise, by the way, and it didn't go over well, okay? Even though it was all cut up, it didn't go over well. So you have to have it be all 3, relevant, effective, appropriate, okay? So just because you get their attention doesn't mean it's relevant to the topic, and it doesn't mean it's appropriate for the situation, okay? Relating to the audience, just give us the so what. Give us the. I'm going to talk to you about something important today, in regard to how I changed or grew as a person. Like that's relevant. That's good. So what? Okay. And then your thesis statement, where you just say, hey, I'm going to talk to you about how I've changed, and then the preview statement, breaking down what you're doing. So there's a lot of this in your text for this week in chapter 10. In regard to what chapter 10, scratch me saying a chapter, go to your book and just check, okay? All of a sudden I'm not trusting my numbers. It might not be chapter 10, okay? So your introductions, okay, 10 to 15% of the speech. I gave you the time estimate on the first one. Leave the big info for the body. The introduction is simply getting my attention and setting things up. Here's where we're going, okay? I think you should prepare the body of the speech first, know what you're talking about, get that worked out, then go back and do the introduction. It usually just works better that way. You want to be enthusiastic. You want to establish your credibility. And the better your introduction is, the more likely you are to do well in the rest of the speech. If you nail your introduction, you are going to have confidence going into the body of the speech, okay? And so you want to practice this. You want to spend time crafting this, okay? And there's this thing called the primacy effect. And the primacy effect states that people remember what they hear first, and you want to take advantage of that. You want to set up what they're going to remember. You have that control. You actually get to, you as the speaker. If you do an introduction well and then you follow through with the organizational principles that you set up in the introduction, your audience will actually remember what you tell them, okay, or pieces of it. All right. So then, that's the introduction, folks. Take time. Once you really know what you're talking about, you've got the story working, you know what it taught you, then go back and do the introduction. There are great examples in your textbook. Your textbook walks you through all of these different possibilities for attention getters. We'll do more on attention later, okay? So use this stuff just to get something down. This first speech is just meant for you to do one, okay? So I'm not expecting the world right now. So now we have a conclusion, all right? Why do we even have to have a conclusion? How come I just can't, like, drop the mic? Oh, peace out! And then, like, end my video. Or walk off the stage. I can't. That's not how it works, right? You actually need to wrap up the speech. People want a sense of closure, okay? So conclusions are actually really simple. But for some reason, they are the hardest thing for my students to get. And so you've been in a room as an audience member, I guarantee you, where someone is talking and they don't know how to get out of the presentation. They don't know how to stop talking. So prepare your way out. It's actually really, really easy. So take a look at this. If I come back to my speech template, I come down here, here's what the conclusion is made up of right here. Transition to conclusion. This is so easy. You don't even have to write this. It's 2 words. Are you ready for this? In conclusion. Those 2 words will wake an audience up. Those 2 words will signal to just about anybody, hey, I'm about to be done here, okay? So you transition to the conclusion. You restate your thesis. So the cool thing is once you write your thesis up here in your introduction, copy and paste it into your conclusion. And it goes like this. In conclusion, and it doesn't mean these are separate statements. You just have to have the pieces. Many times these 2 or 3 pieces are all one sentence, okay? In conclusion, today I walked you through an event or experience that changed the way I turned into that impacted who I became. And then when you write your preview, copy and paste it into your review. So, in conclusion, today I told you the story of the experience that turned me into who I am today. And I did this by digging into the story and pulling out the 2 main points. And then you re-say the main points, whatever those are, okay? And then your final thought is where you come back to this stuff, okay? You have your preview, you have your review, your primary takeaway, and your memorable ending. These are the final thought, okay? These are the final thought in your speech. Oh, sorry, you can't see that. I'll hide myself. You want some sort of thought-provoking closure, which is just a way of saying, sorry, I'm looking at the timer, and I have less than a minute on this, so I'm trying to wrap this up. Just, you don't have to end with an explosion or anything like that, but just something that wraps your speech up for your audience, okay? And so very quickly, we come here. It's a short piece of the speech, 5 to 10%. Do not give me any new information. Again, prepare the body of the speech first. In your conclusion, you want to reinforce the central idea. Bookending is a really cool thing where whatever you did in your attention getter, you bring back up in the final thought, right? There's a really cool example of that in the textbook where they give example introductions and example conclusions. You can see how that works. Do not walk away talking. Do not leave this to chance. Do not think, I'll come up with something, okay? And then I don't worry about the recency effect. I've literally got 5 seconds. And so this is it for conclusions. I'll see you in the boards.